So today is a special day because we're doing a video with 3 people from our team. Normally, we only have 2, and I think it's going to be a different dynamic. We all have different perspectives, working on different types of projects, and you'll get a more well-rounded view in terms of why we're doing what we're doing. There's a lot of hype when it comes to the big builds, and it's all over the news. You can build up to 6plexes, you can do garden suites, ADUs, but it seems like both of you are focusing on these smaller projects. You're taking a single family home, converting into a couple units, 3 units, maybe building a garden suite. So what's your thought process in terms of focusing on these smaller projects when the big ones seem like it's so much more lucrative, so much more exciting, and the opportunity is finally here?
I've said this 100 times and I keep saying it. Real estate is supposed to be simple. You're not supposed to be on the cutting edge of real estate. That's not why we do it. People have owned land throughout time, right? I'd rather do the tried and tested thing that has worked over history. There's too many changes in regulation. Let's keep it simple, keep to what works, and that's it.
I completely agree. It also depends on the type of investor you are and the stage of investment portfolio you are. If you're a first-time investor, I wouldn't recommend building brand new, doing a full top-up. There's way too much to learn. The timelines are much longer to going through the permits, going through the different stages of the construction. It's more costly. There's just so much that you don't even know you don't know if you keep it stupid.
But it's true, actually. Listen, everyone could invest in real estate. It's not that hard. The hard part is doing it right, but everyone could do it. And if you just focus on the 3 fundamentals, if you got a low purchase price, high cash flow, and you keep expenses down, you're going to be good in the long run.
If you look at the absolute returns of the big projects, it could look very exciting. $1 million, $1.5 million possibly that you can earn. But once you stack it against the time, it might take you 2 years to get a project done to make $1 million. And you need $1 million of capital to do it. So when you stack it against time and capital, your return on investment doesn't actually look that much more exciting. You can take a smaller project conversion, get it done in 3-6 months. Over 2 years, you can get 4 at least if you do every 6 months, right? So once you multiply the returns there, they actually are a lot more comparable. And sometimes it might even be better when you take on the smaller projects. There's a lot of condo completions and they're just sitting on the market, not being sold. If sellers decide it's not the right market for them to sell, they might put it back onto the rental market, and that's adding more rental supply. So if that is the case, why are we even building more multiplexes to begin with?
Speculators ruined the condo market. It's completely crashing. And they made a ton of small, tiny units that no one actually wants to own, only investors. So the issue was all these investors bought, but now the market is way lower. So they bought for a higher price. It's lower. The rents are lower. It's terrible right now. There are 2 reasons that I would choose a multiplex home and a conversion over a downtown condo. The first one, they're a lot bigger. It's actually a lot more comfortable to live in these units. So instead of a 700 square foot 3-bedroom or a 400 square foot 1-bedroom, you're getting a 1,000 square foot 3-bedroom or a 600, 700 square foot 1-bedroom. It's a lot more comfortable. The second reason is the location. Condos are mainly focused downtown or on major roads, but these multiplexes can be anywhere. You can find them in North York, Scarborough, downtown, anywhere you can find them. So you're not really competing as much with that condo market. So although there are so many condos right now built all in one area, these multiplexes are spread and you're going to get into those prime locations that actually need those units.
The other thing to add from my perspective too is like the lifestyle. Some people just don't want to live in a condo. They have to share an elevator that could potentially break down. They park their car in a garage where they got to go so many different levels down to get to their vehicle, bringing groceries up. Like the lifestyle for some people, the condo life is just not it. For some people, it makes sense, but someone who's potentially wanting to start a family, it might not be this. They want a backyard, they want a driveway where they can just walk right up into the home. They want a different feel, the neighborhood feel, the cozy feel, that kind of environment versus the downtown core with a ton of different condos and buildings and things like that. So really just the other thing is really lifestyle.
I think you have it bang on because as a parent, I know that even if you pay me, I don't think I would ever want to live in a condo because of the neighborhood and the schools. I live in a neighborhood where all the other neighbors have kids and my kids can play with them. Whereas if you go to a condo, everyone else, young couples that don't have
For the
kids.
most part, there are
most
some really
parts.
nice condos if you go to Avenue
Yeah.
in St. Clair, or there's different pockets where they're geared towards totally different buyers. But
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about here is those new ones that were built, the shoe boxes that
Exactly.
all were built in the last 5-6 years that speculators took advantage of. and tried to speculate that the price would go higher.
We talk a lot about garden suites. Some people love it. Some people are not so sure about it. So what's your take? Why would you build a garden suite?
In real estate, one of the most important reasons you buy is for that land. A garden suite gives you the ability to maximize the value. If you compare it to a condo, you can't do anything with that condo, right? You just have that piece in the sky and that's it. But with a garden suite, you're adding that value to your property. So you can increase your rental income. You can increase your property value. It does so much, especially if you're holding that property for the long term.
Another thing with garden suites or even laneway suites, when you build them, it's going to give the condo feel for your tenant when they move in. It's also not rent controlled. So you can increase rents as the market changes throughout. So you're adding the density on the lot that you may already own and that exists, or you're buying with the potential to build in the future. Opens up a lot of doors for you overall.
I don't know if you guys have realized, but development charges have increased quite a bit over the last few years. And now, even if you're building a rental unit, say a 3-bedroom rental unit, development charges are technically supposed to be $50,000 per unit. Yeah, it's insane. And if you have a non-rental unit, it goes up to around $80,000 to $90,000. So when you do a triplex and an ADU, 50 times 4, you're saving $200,000. So I think that's a big difference. Things could change. If it's possible now and you know that you're making these savings now, it's actually a pretty good market as well with prices, negotiating power. It's just a good time to take these kind of projects on. Can you guys give me just a little bit of a glimpse in terms of how the market is feeling right now from the buy side?
You mentioned the current market. And it's changing so rapidly. It's crazy. I've never experienced a market like this. Like we were picking up deals for $850, $900, thinking I haven't seen a property at this price in so long. And now I just saw one sell for $570. That's insane. But there's a reason that property did sell for that price, right? Like most people can't buy that property. It's really tough. The mortgage isn't coming from a bank. It's not an A lender, right? So don't think that you're going to just buy a property for $570 and move in. That's not how it works. But the opportunity is there right now to pick up those prices. So I think a lot of builders and a lot of investors are jumping in right now. Even first-time home buyers, it is a really good chance because you may not be able to buy a house for $1 million, but maybe you can for $700, $750. And that's totally possible these days.
Whether it's an investment or for your own home, you scrolling online, looking at prices, looking at photos, there's so much that actually exists in like the conversations that you have with agents. What is the reason why the seller is selling? Is there some potential for price reduction? All of these things you as a buyer scrolling online won't know unless you actually are working with an agent who can have those conversations with the listing agent and really dig into what is possible. So even that property you were saying that sold for $570, like again, there was a lot of backstory to it. I think it was probably listed higher as well. I don't know the exact property, but that's just the case with any property. Last week, I closed on a property that was listed $1,070,000 and we closed at $960,000 with it. So that's $100K difference. A potential buyer scrolling online, right? Won't know unless you're working with someone who can have those conversations in a very professional setting. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're on the fence, it really just takes getting in touch with an agent who can do that homework for you. And we do it all the time. We're looking at the deals often. We're calling the agents to see where those deals exist.
I love how you put that. I 100% agree. And I get this question all the time. Realtors, you're not sending me the deal or
you're not doing your job.
That's not funny. Okay. So a lot of people think a realtor's job is to send you deals, right? Everybody could look up deals. I can show you how. It'll take you 5 minutes and you can actually look up and shortlist some of the best deals available. No problem. But how do you actually close that deal? I had a client tell me they actually sent me a deal and they said, this looks great on paper. Let's get more information. Let's go offer on this property. I said, okay, great. They were ready to go at $900,000, but I locked it up for $850,000. That $50,000 is why you work with an agent. The way you just close a deal, $110,000 off of the asking price. If you don't go with someone that can do that, you could be losing $50,000, even $200,000.
You're losing, or you could be slowing or delaying getting your foot in the door because
Missing
you're like, oh, I
opportunity.
can't afford it because it's listed at this price. All it takes is a conversation to see where it could land, and then it could fall within your budget.
That's
all
the
it is.
value that we bring as agents, especially with experience. Just us here. We've been in conversations with other agents, with listing agents on properties, thousands of times. You make your mistakes at the beginning, and for realtors just starting out, right, you learn. And if you're not part of a team, to get that experience is almost impossible. So all this experience is why you can save $50,000 to $100,000 to $200,000 per deal.
Someone scrolling a line, you find a price that either is within your budget or not in your budget, but you're looking at the photos and you're thinking, this renovation is going to cost me way too much. I can't afford it. Again, working with even us at Elevate, we have such a big ecosystem of contractors and trades that if the budget in your head doesn't make sense, we're probably looking at budgets that are way cheaper than what you even can imagine
Oh yeah.
can be possible in those homes. So again, it's actually figuring out what your goal is and then working with an agent or a team that will guide you along to reach that goal.
I think you guys hit it bang on. The right team is so important. You talked a lot about price savings, and I think that's a big thing, but also time savings and just getting the right property to start with, right? A lot of times, if you're just searching on your own, you have no idea what you're buying. Say you buy a house with no separate entrance, and then you're like, oh no, now I need to build a basement apartment. There's no separate entrance. It could be possible that you can't even add an entrance if you want to. And then if you can, it'll cost you a lot more. So those savings with a discount realtor would end up costing you a lot more down the road, or would actually close the opportunity on you in certain cases. And also the time. Like when you work with us, we've done it. We say it's stupid because we've done it so many times before that we know the ropes. Like we can do it probably with our eyes closed, maybe for the smaller multiplex conversions. But when you're doing it for the first time with no guidance, it could be a lot more complicated. You might take 2 times the amount of time. And when you factor in all of your holding costs and losses with that extended time period, it's
very
actually makes,
likely that you'll fail.
yeah.
You're going to fail no
Fail.
matter what you do. If you're just learning how to skate, you're going to fall.
Oh, 100%.
So
Yeah.
if you're a builder, or if you own a few properties already, yeah, you're probably not going to fail, but maybe you won't get the best return possible. But when you work with the team, the one to work with, the one that's done this
Yeah.
thousands of times, right? Then we've already failed many years ago. Don't worry. It's not going to happen to you now.
We've definitely failed. We've
Failed.
paid the cost so that you
Exactly.
don't have to
And-
feel as bad.
Exactly. And now we've learned through what we've done. Use our contacts. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about like a whole bunch of different potential buyers in this market. You said first-time home buyers, maybe investors, builders. How do your clients look like these days? What's the mix of clients that are buying into these multiplex opportunities?
Funny enough, a lot of my clients now are builders or former builders. I'm talking about bigger projects like condos or bigger developments, subdivisions. Those things aren't happening right now. It's so hard to get a subdivision project off the ground because nobody's buying those, right? So they have all this money, they want to build, they have the expertise, but there's nothing to build, there's nothing to do. So they're moving to these smaller projects for a lot of the reasons that you've mentioned in the past, development fees. It's a lot easier to get the green light. There's less red tape now. It makes a lot of sense. And with the values so much lower and these big lots all available throughout the city, and by big lot, 50 by 100, they're jumping in and they're going for it.
Yeah. I would probably say my clients right now are a lot more first-time investors, which are great. It's my favorite client to work with. Of course, I'm happy to work with any type of client with their goals, but the first-time investors, there's a lot of learning that you need to do in what real estate investing is, and the stuff that we actually, like to Spiro's point, we've come back to one of the best strategies is the main house simple conversion and then building something in the back, which can sound crazy, but for us, because we've done it so much already, it's not that complicated. But for first-time investor, it's my favorite thing to walk through and educate them on. And there's so many building requirements that are actually always changing. So we have Samantha always watching to see when those change and then relaying it to the team. So we're looking at these things very different from other agents who walk through a property and just, oh, okay, you can do this and that. But we're really thinking about doors, accesses, ceiling heights, windows, lighting, like all of these things that we're so in touch with. And then the buying process can be complicated. The negotiation and going through offer nights, navigating that component as well as the build is something we do very well.
We talked about buyers, and then another question I get asked is exit. I know we always talk about refinancing as an exit, but that is not the ultimate exit. You have to sell it eventually. And I do know when you build a duplex, the potential buyer pool is different from a triplex, different from a potential buyer pool for a triplex plus ADU, and also different from people who have 5plex plus. Can you walk me through what the different eventual buyers would be once these projects are done?
The more units you have in a property, the harder it is to sell because you lower the pool of people that are actually buying that unit. You're only an investor at that point. If you have 4, 5, 6 units, it's very rare you're gonna have an end user moving into one of those because you need a ton of money. Only investors. Once you get to the 2-unit mark, even with triplexes, a lot of end users will move into one and rent out the other, house hack, live for free. But the duplex is actually, I believe, the most powerful tool if you're selling your home. You want it to be a duplex. You want there to be a basement apartment because that actually increases the affordability for a buyer. It means they can pay more, and it actually works. It works all the time. And you see it especially in these middle income neighborhoods or upper middle income, even the higher end neighborhoods. When you have that option, you're just increasing the possibility to get more money in an offer, and those buyers will be there because investors will buy it potentially, end users will buy it potentially. You just open up the playing field. That's the best way if you're selling your property.
Yeah. I think if you visualize it like a funnel, at the top end, it's like proper single family use. So you get end users and people who want to convert it. And then you have duplexes probably as that next level where you still get both, but the work is done. And then if you go triplex, that's when your end user buyer pool starts to reduce. You get a lot of house hackers, which is a fantastic entry level way to get into real estate. Again, and the property is already done. But then when you get to the fourplexes onwards, it becomes mostly just investors.
Exactly. And we get this question all the time with our clients that are building these fourplexes. And I tell them, don't expect to sell it right away because you have to really think who's buying that right now, right? And especially for that premium, for you putting in the work to create a fourplex or fiveplex, it's going to cost a lot of money and you're going to expect a big return. Who's buying that right now? Not many people. And that's okay because the goal isn't to sell those. The goal is to actually hold on to them for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years and pay them off, have high cash flow, and you're good. So that's the goal. Don't expect to sell them right away.
Yeah. I actually really like your point about how duplexes are great for mortgage qualifications. And I'm not sure if people understand that exactly. When you go for mortgage qualifications, one of the first questions they ask about the property is how many separate units it has. So if you only have one unit, then they'll look at one unit's market rents to qualify you. And chances are you'll need a lot of your own salary, your own income to qualify for $1 million mortgage. So you probably need $200,000 of income to qualify for it. But if you have 2 separate units, like another unit in the basement, they'll look at market rents from 2 units, and chances are it's going to be $1,000 or $2,000 more than just 1 unit. And then times 12, that's around $25,000 extra income per year. And that's going to qualify you for a lot more than if you didn't have the basement unit. So that's something that they're like, oh, how can I qualify for such a big purchase? It's because the extra rental income potential would definitely help you on that front. Okay, guys, thanks so much for joining me for this video. It was really fun, actually. We got different perspectives here. And as you can see, we are a great team, lots of resources shared between our team. And if you are interested in investing in multiplexes in Toronto, you know who to call. And if you want to reach out to these 2 team members directly, I'll have their handle right here. And then if you want to book a call, you can also book a call with us at this link right here. Take care. Bye.